Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than. Today we speak to Florencia Galarza, who is a female footballer and creative. Coming up through the ranks in the US, she's played for Boca Juniors, trialed at PSG, and has been part of the Argentinian national team. After knowing her for a while, I realized that she was much more than just a footballer. She has done a range of things, from studying fashion to even DJing for Kanye West. For me, she's someone that epitomizes why I started this podcast, and I really had to speak to her. I hope you enjoy. Hello, guys. Welcome back to my podcast, More Than. And today we're here with Florencia Galarza. Hello, Flo. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great here in Miami. Not sunny, a little rainy, but we're here.
It's like we're in the same place, really.
Yeah, we're both technically in London right now.
Yeah, honestly. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's been a bit of a pain trying to find the time, with the time difference and stuff. And but I'm so happy to have you here. As I told you, first woman on the show. Really excited about this.
Thank you. That's amazing. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. We'll have a few more as well for our listeners. I'm just not going to give the names away yet. I want it to be like a little surprise.
I know, but I'm not going to say either.
But yeah, no pressure for them, right? No pressure for them, right? So, tell us, how are you and where you at right now?
So right now I'm in Miami, Florida, which is a little crazy because I think Miami right now is like the leading hotspot for coronavirus. So we're being super careful, stuck in the apartment, but it's fine. Like we have to get through this. And just in Miami, I've been back and forth with New York doing some like fundraising and, all that kind of stuff, but I'm fine. I'm a little bored, trying to stay busy however I can, but yeah.
That's cool. Because you basically, as you said, you're based between New York and Miami, and I heard like your life is mainly in New York, but you went back for quarantine, right?
So I actually came back to Miami so I could focus a little more on training full time. In New York, sometimes in the winter it gets a little bit difficult. And also my favorite training facility is in New Jersey, and it was a bit far. It was like an hour and a half away from me. Really? And I was like, you know what, I'm going to come down to Miami. There's some amazing trainers in Miami. And there's also a performance center that I love. So I was just like really focused on that. And it was for the World Cup. So all of 2018 and half of 2019, I was just focused on training. So I was in Miami.
Oh, good. And then, tell us how it's been apart from all the training. How's quarantine been for you? I know in the US, a lot of stuff has been going on, not just with the pandemic, but with the BLM movement and all the stuff that happened with George Floyd and everything. How have you been coping throughout the whole situation? Has it been hard for you, like mentally and stuff?
So it's been hard for everyone. It's been hard for me because it's just so unreal that we're still dealing with this crap. Like I get super emotional. I don't want to cry. I'll probably cry about it. But like just what happened with George Floyd, like I know that's crazy. It's just also, I'm so focused on this Black Lives Matter situation, and just like people need to just be friends, like one love, one human race. Like what is going on? It's just unbelievable that we're still dealing with this. I try not to get into arguments with people. I try to educate them because fighting doesn't lead to anything. But it gets to a point where you get so frustrated. Like, how do you not understand? Like, we're just one people. Like, we should all just be together in this world, creating beautiful things, a beautiful life, beautiful experiences. And then this is still happening. So it's like, it's really frustrating. And for my own friends, my Black friends, like I'm Hispanic, obviously we get our things. I've been called things before, but the Black community, it's just like wild that they still have to deal with this. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's obviously something that happens everywhere in the world, and here in London, it's happened as well. But it's just still unbelievable that this stuff comes from so many years ago, right? And we're still, I don't know, I feel like changed so little, and with all the information we have nowadays and all the social media, and like people can educate themselves way better than it was before. But we're still like, I don't think, especially white people, not making the effort needed to kind of like be up to the task and understand that this is a massive issue. And I was reading about like the whataboutism that people like keep using to kind of excuse themselves, but I don't think there's an excuse at all, and I think it's an effort from everyone. And yeah, you being from like, well, living in New York and like the massive it's like such a cultural epicenter, so that's why I wanted to ask, like as you say, like with your friends and stuff. And yeah, I can imagine like how hard it must have been for you.
Yeah, it's super difficult. Also, like I've always tried, I was born and raised in Miami before I moved to New York, and I'm Argentinian. And in Argentina, racism is a thing. Like Argentinians can be very racist. And even like at times my grandmother would make comments and I'm like, what? Like, and I know they're conditioned by just like generations of this, but it's like, trying to just educate someone who's conditioned by their culture or just like the world, it's so difficult to have that breakthrough. But and it's really uncomfortable at times and it sucks, but I'm still fighting for it. Like I'm gonna do that. And people need to understand that it's super uncomfortable and like you don't really know if you're gonna insult someone or not, but like you need to have your people's back. Like I need to educate. I don't care if it makes me seem crazy or like whatever. Like I'm out there. Like I went out there and protested in downtown Miami. Like it's just, you have to do that.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't even post on Instagram that much. I'm just like out here actually like caring and stuff like a lot. But I get so passionate about it. Like
no, that's so good. And I feel so related because I think Spain is very similar to Argentina, like people are really not educated. And I say that from like people in my family to like group of friends and stuff. And I feel like sometimes, I don't know, when you come from a country like ours, is when you get out, then you start seeing the broader world and you start educating yourself. And like, for me, coming to London was such a cultural change because in my hometown, there's only like 20,000 people. And there is not many immigrants. And even though there was a few, which like they used to be all my friends because I used to go to the only public school in the town. So for me, since I was young and like through football, there has been like, because I think football helps a lot, it's like such a sport that is so multicultural. So it kind of, all the bad education that we get, because obviously racism is something that you're not born with, it's something that you learn with time. I didn't have that personally, but it was, coming to London that what actually just like opened my eyes so much to like other cultures and embracing it. And, really understanding that we are all really just one race.
We are.
But it's, as I say, it's so hard for me to also like have these conversations with my family, for example, in Spain, like the far right has now got into parliament, and it's something that a lot of people talk about. And for me, it's so hard to like hear someone from my circle talking good about them or something, because it's so racist, really. Like the policies is kind of like what they're guided by. And I can get so emotional about it as well, and so angry. And I'm like, how can we be so close and like with people in my family and stuff, and like you guys be talking about this stuff? And so I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah, and it's difficult because you get so emotional and passionate and angry, and you want to like articulate your like the situation and what reality is, but it gets like mixed sometimes because you're so angry that it comes off like aggressive, and then people don't want to listen, and you're like, I'm just losing. This is like lose right now. Like, it's, I could talk about this for hours.
I can imagine. And obviously you've been helping the community, as you said, in New York. I saw like, were you like cooking stuff or something? And like even in the protests, and I saw something on your Insta stories. What was it that you're doing?
So I first started when I realized that we were going to be stuck indoors for a while and everything was going to be shut down. I decided to make my empanadas. That are, like,
of course.
I heard they're good. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make empanadas. And the first one was actually for Easter Sunday here in Miami. And I made a ton of empanadas. I collect jerseys. That's like my thing. I collect kits. Like I'm obsessed. And I started selling them so I can use those funds to buy like the stuff to make my empanadas. And so I made them on Easter Sunday, and I went out to the homeless community here in Miami and gave them out. So I made like little individual kits in a paper bag. I wrote Happy Easter on every bag. I gave them empanadas, gloves, so they could be safe. I didn't have enough masks, but also little chocolate bonbons. And and I just went out on Sunday, Easter Sunday, like, you know, like, I care about you too. Like, you deserve to, like, obviously have an Easter Sunday. I don't care if you're on the street or in my house. Like, I'm gonna hand make empanadas for you. Like, we're all cool. So that's where it started. And then I kept selling my jerseys so I can buy pizzas in New York. I partnered with Joe's Pizza. And the first one, I also like gave pizzas out to the homeless community. And the second food drive I did, I went to all the hardest hit COVID units in New York City, and I gave pizzas to all the nurses and the frontline workers. So I've just been doing that, and everything's funded from my own personal soccer kit collection that I'm selling. And I'm like starting to get to like the really good ones, and I'm like, oh man.
That must hurt a little bit as well somehow.
It hurts a little bit. I'm like, oof, okay.
For a good cause, of course.
100%. Like at first I'm like, damn, I love that jersey, but gotta go. Gotta feed some people, man, that need it more than, you know, a jersey in my closet.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, big respect for you for doing that. That's amazing. Well done. And let's start with a little bit for the people that don't know you, and for the people that do, about your personal story. How did you start playing football? And you growing up, how were you growing up?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of stuff, but my soul, like my core, I'm an athlete. I started just being an active kid since I can remember. I first started with swimming when I was like 2 or 3, and then I started playing tennis. And then all my guy cousins here in Florida, Miami, they're all football players. So they would, like, you know, always bring a football around, and we play on the street, or we play like at the parks or whatever. And when I was 7, I was like, you know what, I kind of want to play football. Like, this is like, tennis is cool and all, but like, I'm super alone. It's just me and my coach. Yeah. And like, if I play football, I get to be around so many people and have a team, and it's super awesome. So I started playing football at 7. I always knew I was super athletic. Like, I was just always into sports and doing stuff, but I never understood that I could have a career in football, especially as a woman. It was difficult because I didn't really have anyone to look up to until like 1999 when the U.S. national team won their first World Cup. And I was like, wait, I could maybe make a career out of this. So in 99, I don't know how old I was. I was probably like, oh my goodness, 13 or something. I can't remember. But around that time, that's when I was like, there was like a little switch in my brain. I was like, I'm going to take this full serious, and this is going to be my life. And from then on, like, I started getting picked up by like the Olympic Development Program here in the States. Back then, that's where they would find the U.S. national team. So you would go, like, you know, they chose me for the Florida team. So I was a top player in Florida. And then they choose you for the regional team, and I was a top player in the southeast region of the United States. And then you go to the U.S. national pool, and then the actual team. Okay. I got cut in the U.S. national pool when I was 13. No. And I was like, no. And it was cool though, because I got to like play with Ashlyn Harris, who's still like on the U.S. national team, and like all these amazing players. And I continued on that path, you know, on ODP until I was like 17. I played in the best like leagues in the States, like Raleigh Shootout in North Carolina, Texas Shootout in Texas, WAGs in Washington. And these were all like college showcase tournaments, and they were just the top of the top. And when I was 17 and I was already set, like I'm playing D1 college, like I had all these schools lined up. That was it, like literally horse planners, like it was football. I decided to train on a Sunday, which I never do. And this one of my own team members slid tackled into my ankle and like destroyed my ankle. So I got injured. And I was like, wait, hold up. Like, I never considered injury a thing. Like, I always thought I was invincible. And it was bad. It was like the beginning of my senior high school year. It was right when I was like about to choose what school I was going to play D1 college, like for or whatever. And it was a wrap. Like, I just couldn't get over the fact that I got injured. And it was more like I could have gotten over it. Like I tore all my ligaments on my ankle and like whatever. Maybe I would have redshirted my first season in college. Like every athlete gets injured. But I was so emotional at the time that I literally just like quit.
So it was more like there was no other option for you, right? You were just like, I'm going to play football. That's it. Like, there's nothing that can stop me. And then your immediate thought after the injury was like, I'm done.
Yeah. It was so wild. It was so like crazy. I just like, that's it. I was like, I'm never going to play football again. Like, I'm never going to be able to touch the ball the same. I'm never going to, it was just like all these crazy teenage girl.
But it's not really like that because I have to say when I did my ACL, I didn't have that thought straight away. I felt like I was very like, okay, listen, this is happening 6-9 months, whatever. I'm gonna come back. Mm-hmm. But I remember post surgery being in the sofa at my parents' house, and I was watching my team play, and I was seeing them run, sprinting, and all this stuff. And I was looking at myself, and I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like, I cannot move my leg right now. I could barely just lift it up. I was like, how? Like, how is this gonna get better? Like, your brain kind of tricks you into it a little bit, right? So I fully understand you thinking that at that time.
I could only imagine you also ACL being like one of the worst injuries in football, and you're like sitting there and you're like, I was playing in the English Premier League, like literally the top most hardest thing ever to accomplish, and you're just like, cool, just have to get back to that level, like
just like it's nothing, right?
Like it's nothing, and just like take these hits and like pretend that your knee never tore. It's just like all this stuff.
It's so very difficult. It's very difficult. Mentally, it's such a hard time. So I can fully understand that. And just before we talk more about your injury, one of the things that like I feel really inspired by you, because I follow you on Instagram and I see your stories, and you work so hard. Like when you were training, like I haven't seen you posting training football in a while, but when you were training football with your friends in Miami and stuff, and then you do your yoga, you do your workouts, and I was like, yo, this girl is working out every day. And me, after I get home from training, I'm just like sitting in the couch. So what is this? Sometimes I was feeling like, yo, I need to do more. So tell me, what does the drive and that hardworking mentality come from?
So this is like really special and important. When I started playing football again 10 years later after my injury, I was like, man, I just got a second chance. Like, I'm not going to mess this up. Like, there's no way I'm going to mess this up. Like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to be mentally prepared. I'm going to be physically prepared. I'm just going to be prepared. And I'm going to just go back to football and do everything that I wish I would have been stronger or wish I would have done when I was younger. And that's why I was just like, I turned into like full like beast mode 24/7.
Yeah, no, for real. Like, it was crazy. I was seeing it every day.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Like, so when I started playing football again, like I started on like playing street soccer in New York, and people were like, you're really good. I'm like, yeah, I used to be really good. And then a lot of people started getting in my head, and they're like, you should try to play again, maybe. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like in my late 20s. Like, you don't know how pro football works. Like, that means like you're literally ancient. Like, people are not going to pick you up when you're in your late 20s. Yeah. And I just kind of went for it. But I started in South America. And then, and I remember going to Boca Juniors, and I was legit the most fit person there. Like, maybe my touch was a little off because I haven't played in mad long. But in terms of like fitness, I'm like, no one's outrunning me. I'm going to play 120 minutes if need be. Like, I don't even train for 90 minutes. I train for 120 plus. Yeah. And like, whatever, my touch will come back. My technique will come back. My reading of the game will come back. But like, my body is ready to go. Like, I'm going to run right through people. And that's
such a good mentality. I love it.
Yeah. So it was like, I'm going to be faster than you. I'm going to be stronger than you. I'm going to be mentally stronger than you. Like, that's it. Like, we're on. And that was just because
proper beast mode.
Yeah, proper beast mode, like beast mode. And I made Boca Juniors, and I got called to the Argentina national team. And like, I'm pretty sure it's mostly because of my work ethic and how much hard work and positivity and focus. Like, the focus was real. Like, even with my food, like I wouldn't even touch a glass of wine, like nothing. Like, everything was like football for real, for real. Like I did football for real when I was younger. This is like for real, for real. Yeah.
So good. That's so good. We're gonna come back to that after, to your second spell playing football. Because then after your injury, did you have to have surgery or anything, or rehab, or?
No, I was in a cast and in crutches for a while, and then I was like gone. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna play soccer anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Forgot
crazy.
about it. Yeah.
So,
It is. It is. But then
yeah.
you also had like other passions, like of the field, right? Like you're someone that's like really creative and stuff. And I don't know if it was straight after the injury, but then you went to the Fashion Institute of Technology, and
Mhm.
that was when you moved to New York, right? So tell me about your decision.
So when I decided my last year in high school is when I got injured, I decided to no longer play soccer.
Mm.
I was like, you know what? I have always loved style, music, art, like, you know, this whole creative world, that being an athlete and how devoted I was to my sport, I never really got the chance to like explore that. Like I obviously explored it daily, like listening to music or like whatever, having my own style, but like really getting into it, like really learning about music, really learning about
Mm.
style, fashion, all that stuff. So I decided to go to FIT in New York City. Well, thankfully they accepted me and I got in. So I went to FIT, and which was like one of the best design schools, you know, there's Central St. Martin's
Mm.
over there, and FIT in Parsons over here. And yeah, and it was sick. It was amazing. It was like everything I've always loved growing up, but I had to play soccer and I had to go to training and I had to do this stuff. So I was fully like submerged. First of all, New York City, which is like amazing, prime time for all of that, and just studying this every day. So it really like I got to develop all this other stuff that I've always been so obsessed with. Yeah, and then from then on, like I did a ton of really cool stuff.
And then how was New York for you? Because you really grew to love New York, right?
Oh yeah, it's so strange. Like so many people to this day, they're like, "You're a New Yorker," even though I'm like born in Miami. I have 305 tattooed on my fingers, but I'm like a New Yorker. And even like New Yorkers tell me that we're born and raised in Soho or whatever. They're like, "You're the most New York person that who's not from New York." It's crazy.
You
But
adapted, you settled in good.
yeah, like, and for someone to tell me that who's from there and they're like super hardcore, I'm like, wow, cool. Like, and I didn't try to, it just happened. Like, I just like fell into that culture and it made sense for me. But even when I was like younger, when the first time I went to New York, I was like 7 or 8, and I went ice skating in Rockefeller Center, and it
Mhm.
started snowing, and I was just like, oh man, this place is cool. Like already from like the jump, you
It's
know?
so different from where I'm from, right?
Yeah, it was weird. And then I started wearing Timbs in Miami, even though it's like 100 degrees, 40 degrees for you
Yeah, yeah,
guys up
yeah, yeah.
there. I'm like rocking Timbs in the summer in Miami, and people are like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'm in the right place, to be honest. But so like, I love New York. I love everything about it, from like the street culture to like the creative culture to going to the ballet to going uptown, Brooklyn, everything. Like, it's just such a dope place.
And were you like still working out a little bit, or you fully were like, nah, I'm just focusing on like my studies and I'm gonna live like, because you say you were someone like really sporty, right? So were you
Yeah.
still, like trying to keep on top of it, or you were just like, nah, after my ankle, I'm done and this is all I'm doing?
So I actually did a lot of yoga, which I still do. I started doing yoga right when I got injured. So after I healed from my ankle, I continued to do yoga because I was so interested in the whole like meditation and just like calming myself down
Mm.
part of that, of, you know, yoga, meditation, and also being in New York, which is so active, the energy there and the pace is very fast, that I needed to just like sit with myself. And I did yoga, and yoga was fantastic. So I've been practicing forever. I'd occasionally go out for runs. I wouldn't run more than like a 5K or something, but I became more like conscious about my food intake in a different way. So I was a vegetarian for a while, and I got kind of like thin, and
Yeah.
that led to me doing some modeling stuff, which was fine because,
Oh, cool. You
but
see, opens new
yeah,
doors sometimes.
no, it was cool. Like I walked New York Fashion Week for V Files one year. I've had like a billboard in Times Square, like really cool stuff. But again, like the intention was just like trying new stuff, and then everything just
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, I was active in a different way, like yoga, and then yeah, the runs, I guess that takes, you know, physical activity.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher, but yeah, for a while it was very chill. It was nothing like part two of my soccer
And
career.
you weren't thinking about coming back yet.
Yeah, no, not even
That was
close.
far away. And then obviously you were, as you said, when you were young in high school and stuff, you were like, you used to be captain of like teams and stuff. And then,
Yeah,
you know, from such football culture and being an athlete and stuff, you just went and you interned in a magazine, Nylon magazine, was it?
yeah.
And tell me, how was that change for you?
It was it was really interesting because I mean, I felt like it was so organic because it just is part of who I am. I just never really had a chance to like focus on it a little bit more. So everything I did, from going to design school to interning at Nylon magazine, I was in the fashion department, and like just touching clothes all day and being around different types of creative minds. It was just like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is normal. Like it was so normal for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
So I still had so much to learn. I just like, I was a sponge. It was really cool. So the transition was just normal. I don't know how to even explain it. It was just like, okay, like no doubt, part two, this is really cool. Like my creative side. Like,
Yeah, that's so
well,
good. That's so good that you just got there and it was like, yeah, this is my place. I felt
yeah,
like how you say with the city, I relate so much. Like for me coming to London, you know, like a lot of people like say like, oh, Hector's a Londoner now. Like he even like speaks to people like like from London, and it's so like I felt so good straight away when I came here. Like I felt more understood by this city and the people around it than in Spain, in just like my little hometown, you know. So yeah, like I think it's such a good feeling, and like after all these years now, I've been 9 years here. Like you look back and it's like, wow, this city actually has given me so much, and it has
yeah,
made me who I am. Like all the things that I'm doing today, like if I kept playing football in Spain, I don't think I would have been doing half of them, you know. Like the being
right.
able to just like think a bit more outside the box and like try
Mhm.
new things, or like whether it's with fashion or, you know, I think the mentality in Spain, or like my life that I used to have there, probably wouldn't have given me the opportunity to do that. So I feel
Mhm.
that, you know, it's so nice to see like also happening for other people, you know, that you just get to this place that you never really been before. Like me, London, I would only see like on movies or like in postcards or whatever. And then I got here and obviously it's not as sunny and I don't have the beach like 2 minute walk from my house, but this city is giving me so much at the same time.
I feel the same way about New York. And funnily enough, my favorite city, like top two in the world, is London. Like yeah, I literally tried to move to London a couple of times. It didn't work out, but I freaking love it there so much. I get the same type of vibe as New York. It's
Yeah, yeah,
amazing. So I get that. Yeah, same thing with New York. Every time, like, you know, I'm home, I'm in Miami, I was born here, but I feel like such an outsider, like
yeah.
all the time, like 24/7. The second I get to LaGuardia or JFK, I'm like, oh,
I'm
and I'm
home.
free. Yeah, I'm like home, I'm free. Like I can be weird and smart and like street and like elegant. I could just do everything here. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It's so good. That is so good. And then you got into the art scene, let's say, with college and interning for the magazine and stuff. And then you started DJing.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of who you, well, still is a big part of who you are. But I guess like DJing gave you loads of opportunities, right?
Yeah, so DJing is so funny. When I started DJing, like people who knew me since I was little, they're like, yeah, no, like obviously you would DJ at some point in your life because I'm like obsessed with music. I remember being little and like every single song, it doesn't matter what genre or what decade, would come on the radio and I would sing all the lyrics to the top of my lungs. And my mom was like, what is wrong with you? Like, how do you even know this song? It's so crazy. So I remember, you know, I started going out in my early 20s in New York, and I felt like there was like some flavor missing. You know, it was like the era of like the Strokes and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was really cool. Like, don't get me wrong, but I was like, man, we need to get some, like, this is New York. We need to get some like hip hop here, like some dance hall reggae, some like vibes, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like, cool places in New York. Like,
yeah.
but like the art scene, that they were still very like not too much into hip hop. They
Yeah,
weren't really that much into sports, and I was like, I promise you guys, like this is cool and fun. So
yeah.
I decided to start DJing and bring that flavor to the cool downtown New York like vibe. And yeah, so I started DJing. So crazy.
Was that self-taught?
Yeah, fully, like
That's
100%. I'm like, all right, so I need to learn how to use Serato. Okay, no doubt. I need to learn how to use a Pioneer mixer. Okay, cool. Like,
was that YouTube? Was that like YouTube tutorials and stuff? Because I feel like, I don't know, like my generation, our generation is just like something, I don't know how to do this. Let's just go on YouTube. And I know so many people that got so good at Photoshop and like things like that, just for like YouTube videos. And it's so cool.
No, this was like 2000 and I want to say 7. So I don't even know. I think we maybe had Twitter back then.
Maybe.
I don't even remember. I had a BlackBerry with the thing on the side.
That was the time. That was the time. BlackBerry chat. That was the time.
Yeah, pin me.
Yeah.
So I learned on the spot. It was kind of crazy. I learned on the spot, and as I started getting better at it, because everyone really enjoyed my music selection, I started moving on to like bigger like DJ equipment, like proper mixers and stuff. I don't scratch any of that. I never really took the time to learn, but you know, my whole transitioning and my usage of that, just the mixer was incredible, and just the knowledge of the music and knowing how to read like people.
Yeah.
You know, so I could easily read a crowd and be like, these people are bored as hell and they're gonna leave.
Yeah,
like,
I need to switch this.
Yeah, and I could switch it up. And I always loved also DJing for like girls. I loved seeing girls have fun. And when the girls have fun, everyone has fun. Like no one really cares about dudes dancing, no offense. But it's like, you know, I just like kind of catered to girls all the time, and we always had so much fun. And it just started turning into like my career, and I never planned for that. I just wanted to like have more fun when I went out, because it's like, yeah, we could like dance to like 50s rock and robin, like oldies and like the Strokes and like be cool and like whatever, but like when you have that like vibe that, you know, there's this other hip hop essence that makes everything so much more cool. And just picked up, and I started getting booked everywhere. I've DJed in London, I've DJed in Paris and Buenos Aires and LA, like all over the place. My party in New York, I had a couple of parties, but I had a Wednesday night party at this place called Westway that used to be a strip club, and we took it over and made it into this really sweaty, fun party. And my party got voted best party in New York. So I was in Paper Magazine. Yeah. So I was in Paper Magazine as like best party in New York, like a picture of me. And I'm like, what's up? You know, like it was really cool. And yeah, and it was dope. And then that eventually turned into Virgil, who's a good friend of mine, calling me one day in like 2011. And he's like, hey, do you want to be part of this funny little like DJ collective called Bincho? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but if I get to play like fun music, like I'm down. So then I was part of Bincho, which is really cool.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Was it part of it back then? Was like Matthew Williams and Heron Preston as well, like on it and stuff, or like who?
Yeah. So the first people were Virgil, Kanye, Justin Saunders from Jounds, Matthew Williams, and Heron Preston, and they needed a girl, but they wanted a girl who like understood music and hip hop, but was also like stylish and like, you know, things. And that's when I got the call from Virgil. I didn't really know Virgil. I was really good friends with Heron at the time. So I remember Heron and I were walking in downtown New York by La Esquina, and I get this call, and I'm like, sure, like I'm down. So then I think the next week we flew to Chicago, and it was like one of the first times we ever DJed together, all of us, minus Kanye. And we opened for A$AP Rocky at the House of Blues. I was so nervous. I'm like, I don't even know these guys that much. There's like thousands of screaming kids, and we're like opening for A$AP Rocky, and then whatever, that was history. Then we went on tour with Kanye. We were on Watch the Throne in Europe. I DJ'd his film premiere in Cannes, like all this stuff. It was so, I was just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, and I feel I saw a picture, like a really old picture from you guys from like the Bincho Crew, and I was thinking like, yo, these people have come so far from like those days, right? When you were DJing, like obviously like Virgil, creative director of LV, of Y, and all the stuff he does on the side. Matthew Williams now, creative director of Givenchy. Heron Preston has got his own brand. I was like, yo, these people literally, they just got together. They've just like influenced each other so much, and I felt like I could imagine it just be like, yo, we're gonna fuck shit up. Like we're just gonna go crazy. And now everyone has like all these positions, and it's like, whoa, it's so cool to see, you know, it's so cool. And you were a
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah, no, for sure. And even though like when we were all together in 2011, 2012, 2013, like they were still like super brilliant. They were just like building, you know, their empire, like everything Heron did in New York City, and like his whole Nike thing, and like Virgil before even joining Kanye, he had like Pastel, and like everything, that everyone was just so creative and like bubbling, you know. It was time for them to do their thing. And I was the only different one because I'm the athlete. Like I was just the one that needed to go pro. So like my thing was going pro. And everyone thought that was crazy because I was like already older and stuff. And being a pro athlete, as you know, is not easy. Like obviously what Virgil's doing is crazy. And like we're not, like their positions are also not easy. This is like a physical thing. Like your body breaks down. Your mind doesn't really break down as much. Your body does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, tell us like, what was your favorite time or like story, anecdote that happened like through those years? I'm sure people would love to hear it. Do you have one? Like obviously the first time that you DJ, you were so nervous, like it must have been crazy, but like was there, I don't know, like one set that you guys did together that you were like, yo, this one was the shit, or like, I don't know.
Oh, there's so many, it's hard. Oh man. There's like, so I don't even know which one to tell. And they're also like funny because I just like to have fun, and I love a funny story, even though it is inspiring. But so when we were in Paris, yes, we were in Paris, and it was during Watch the Throne tour, and we DJ'd at Cha Cha, and that was so fun. But there was one night where we were just like in the mix, like we had like Beyonce there and like Kelly Rowland, like we were on the VIP section, and when they finally hit that last, I think it was 12 or 13 times, it was so crazy. So Jay got the whole stadium to mosh, and then we all jumped over the seats and went onto the second stage, and everyone was just like jumping around, going nuts. And that, we thought that was just like the most amazing moment, just everyone moshing. And I've never seen people mosh at a hip hop show.
Yeah.
Like, and it started, I feel like that's where it started, this whole thing with like Travis Scott and everyone just like having that mosh vibe. And I was like, we're like creating a moment where shit's gonna change in like the hip hop culture. So we were all like, this is really funny because it takes such a like crazy turn. We all go out that night to celebrate that, you know, that night. And also it was Kanye's cousin's birthday. And we're all like so happy, like having the best time. And somehow, Virgil will tell you this story and we still don't understand. We're in a very tight VIP section. Like, it's like Jay-Z, The Dream, Kelly Rowland, like all these people, me, whatever, da-da-da. We're like gonna leave because we have to wake up the next day to go back to the O2, I forget where it was, O2 Arena. No, that's in London. I forgot where it was in Paris. Anyway, so Virgil and I look at each other, we're like, dude, we gotta go. It's like 4 a.m., da-da-da. We're looking for a backpack after having the best day ever. Backpack's gone. We're like, wait, hold up. Someone stole our backpack. No. Someone stole our backpack. We had all of our computers in there for DJing, Virgil's passport, like all of this stuff. Like, how did they get into the section and steal our passport? Oh my
God.
So we're like up all night at our hotel, like we have to DJ. Virgil has to jump on the PJ in 2 days to go to Switzerland for the next show. And we get this like cryptic email from some random person. Like we found your backpack, give us like VIP entrance and tickets for the rest of the Watch the Throne tour. We're like, what? I should pull it up and read it. And we just like, it was just a week of back and forth with an email. We don't even know who the hell this person is. Yeah. And Virgil, being such a kind human that he is, he's like, okay, yes, like I'll put you VIP on everything. We'll send you everything, da-da-da. Long story short, we get our computers back. He gets his passport back. But obviously he doesn't like hook these people up. But we were just like, what the hell just happened? It was just the craziest shit. They had to like ship our backpack from Denmark, and like our computers were perfect. It was like the craziest story.
Wow.
It has like nothing to do with like being inspiring, but it was just like We always talk about that day. We're like, remember that day our shit got stolen? And
those are the things that you laugh about later, but when you're in that moment, you're like, whoa, what is happening?
It was like so much information on our computers, like really
No, for sure.
stuff,
That's so
like
scary.
Virgil's passport, like it was just like crazy. And we kept having like funny situations like that. We wouldn't really freak out. We just kind of look at each other and like die laughing. We're like, is this what's happening right now? Like this cannot be real. There's so many, like, but that one's like the most like jarring one.
Yeah.
Like props for like beating security and like stealing our stuff. Like that's pretty.
And then finding your email, you know.
He had it. So Virgil had his email on his passport. That's why.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that was great.
Paris, isn't it? That's what Paris does to you, I guess.
Freaking Paris, man. Oh my goodness.
And then 2014, you decide to run the New York Marathon. Was that with the Christy Sterlington Burns Trust or something like that? And then kind of like on the back of it, your love for football reignites again a little bit. Tell us a little bit your story and why you decided to run the marathon and everything.
So after my whole Bincho thing, which I talked to the guys and I was like, you know, I think this is more of a guy thing.
Yeah.
It was really fun, but like there's something else that I needed to do. And I decided that I was going to run the New York Marathon before, you know, in my late 20s, before I turned 30. And I committed to that, which was so scary because a marathon is 26.2 miles, which is 44, I think, kilometers.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I haven't really like trained like that in over a decade. And I was just like this yoga body, skinny vegetarian girl, you know? So I was like, all right, let's commit to this. And I committed to the marathon. I ran, I finished. My time was okay. I did have I hit that wall that people talk about in marathons.
Yeah.
When you get towards the end, whatever. But then I was like, you know what? I just ran a marathon. I could probably play football right now. Like I think I'm a little fit. So I got, funnily enough, at that time, I got approached by A-Life and they were like, we know you like football. We used to have a football team in the Bowery League and we want to bring that back. Do you want to be part of this? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. So like top of 2014, 2013, 2014, I get this team and we start playing the Bowery League and I started playing again. And it was so scary because I haven't touched a football, like a proper soccer ball, since I got injured. So I was 17.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like 13 years.
Yeah, I was like 29 around that age. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And my first game back, I remember I had to man mark their best player on the other team. And I'm like, why? I haven't touched the ball in so long. Like, why me? I'm also a center forward, but okay. And it's just incredible. Like, there's certain movements that I was just like getting used to and like just reading the game. And it was so incredible. So I started playing with A-Life. And then with A-Life, we did a cool collaboration with Puma. And I was like the model, the creative director. Like I got my best friend to shoot it, and it was really cool.
You know that was one of the first things that I shot with Puma as well when I signed with them.
Oh really?
Yeah, the A-Life and Puma collaboration. Yeah.
Wow, I had no clue. That's cool.
Yeah, so nice. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the New York one.
Connected.
Yeah, right. Since back in the day. Damn, cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, I started doing that whole thing, and Bowery League in New York is so dope. Like, it's been around forever, since like the early 2000s. Obviously, like back then we didn't have social media, so not a lot of people knew about it. And thankfully, when I started to play Bowery League, that's when like Instagram became a thing, and we were able to show like this New York street soccer scene that was so dope. Because back then it was really a lot of mostly creatives. Like everyone was like a photographer, an art director, a model, or whatever. There weren't real soccer players, like real pro ex-soccer players in the mix. And it was really exciting because you're like, for instance, like Dev Hines, friend of mine, right? So he plays soccer and I had no idea. I just thought he was this crazy amazing musician. Yeah. huge soccer fan, like crazy football fan. He plays football, and like I didn't know that until like getting in the mix with like Bowery League and like all the creatives who like football. And I was like, all these people keep popping up that are like football players, enthusiasts or whatever. And I'm like, dude, sick. Like, I love your photography, but you're also, that goal was amazing. Like, I never thought I'd be saying that. It was really cool.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, and then like eventually, like maybe a year or two later, I turned A-Life into the Kith team, which was really amazing. And I was signed to Adidas by then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Ronnie, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we should like link with Adidas football and do a collection. And he's like, I'm down. So we did that.
That was so cool as well.
Yeah, I remember I was in Art Basel here in Miami in 2015, and I was on the phone with Sam Handy, who used to be the global football guy for Adidas, and Ronnie, and we're like, all right, we're gonna make this happen, and it's gonna be super fucking dope. So we had a 3-season collection, Kith Adidas football, and plus I had a team in New York. I made one here in Miami, and then we had one in LA, and that was really cool. And then during that time, I was like, okay, I'm mixing everything I learned in New York from like fashion and music and whatever and football, but I still need to play pro. Like I need to do that. I've been dreaming about.
That was inside of you, huh?
Yeah, it was still there. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to my favorite football club since I was a little girl, and I know they have a women's team because I was researching. I'm gonna go to Boca Juniors in Buenos Aires and see if they'll give me a shot.
Yeah.
And I did that from like the ground up. Like I know people at Boca. Like I could have easily called Crespi and been like, you know, get me a spot on the team, but I didn't. I talked to the coach. I didn't tell him like who I was, like nothing. I was just like, I'm a girl that plays football. Can I try out for your team?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So I flew down to Argentina, tried out, made the squad, and I was just like, what is my life? Like, what is going on? This is so cool.
And also, I've seen games of Argentinian women's football, like Boca against River, and yo, that is crazy. That's like WWE.
Yeah, no, that I know what video you're talking about. That was like when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna break a leg, but I'm gonna do it. It wasn't that intense. That was like that video that you're talking about was like 2-3 years before I went, but it's rowdy down there. Like, oh my goodness, I got hit hard. But I heard that, you know, like the juveniles, like the younger kids who go and like are the inferiores in Argentina, it's the same thing. Like, it's like you're fighting for your life.
Yeah, I think it's like very like the football culture over there is very like that, right? Like from men's to women's, like it's just so passionate and like you know, you go through anyone to like win.
Oh yeah, it's literally your life. Like you're playing, but you're still fighting to be like on that team because that's all you got. Like that's your life. Like that's the vibe there. But and that's also like I really wanted to help women's football in Argentina because I grew up when I was little. I've been going to Argentina since I was born. Like every summer I spent in Argentina. I always thought about my friend Pia, who she's been my friend since I was a little girl, and her dream was to play football, but it was impossible in Argentina because they just didn't have that as an option. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to at least develop or help eyes come to football in Argentina. Like just help the women be inspired to play. Like it's really difficult over there. Girls don't play soccer because of like, you know, they have all the worst stereotypes and, you know, they're like, oh, if you play football, then you must be like low class garbage. Like it's really Argentines sometimes like can really have the worst train of thoughts. And I was trying to break that stigma. Like, no, everyone plays football. Everyone. It doesn't matter your race, your bank account, your education. Like football is a beautiful game. It's for the world. So part of Boca was me playing pro, but then I saw something else there. I was like, man, we need to like get girls hyped to play the sport in Argentina. We need men in Argentina to respect women who play football. And on top of that, like we hardly got paid. Like they are not living off of football in Argentina at all. Like so during my Boca time, not only was I able to fulfill like one of my dreams, I definitely tried to help just women's football in Argentina. I used the majority of my Adidas stipend to buy all of them cleats, sports bras, the little headbands. And that's like when stuff started to shift. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm playing pro, but like we need to do something for women's football. And this is 2015, no, 2016. And I remember like literally smuggling two huge luggages filled with soccer cleats for like girls in Argentina so they could play soccer. Like through customs, like, oh my God, please.
Please let me.
Yeah, and then, and that was just like, that became my passion. It was like, cool, I got to play soccer again, but I need to help. I need to like build women's football in my country. And the whole time thinking about my friend Pia, like, damn, I wish me as I was so lucky. Football in the States is like massive, but then there's all these other countries in the world where football for women you're treated like garbage. You don't get paid, you don't get respected, you don't even have the opportunity to play. Like, you don't have teams. So I shifted for a while into that, and that's what I've been doing kind of for the most part up until like the pandemic and the World Cup. A lot of things started happening, but I was really focused on that for a while.
That's so good. And then you went into some training sessions with the Argentinian national team, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. I got called to the national team. I went to training camp, and I was like, this is okay. Like, this is really something I wasn't expecting at all.
That was the beast mode, that was the hard work you put in.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you're so focused and just like being the best version of yourself every day that things eventually start to like, happen.
Yeah.
And I went to, La Selección, and it was crazy. I was like, this is literally where like Messi and like all the guys train and play. And I'm like, I'm 32 now, and this is where I'm at. Like, I would have never thought that, from 17 to 32. And then at that time, I was still also like fighting for these girls on my national team. Like, I helped them get signed to Adidas. I helped them get signed to Nike. I would help them however I could so they could stay motivated and also inspire the next generation of Argentinian soccer players. Mm-hmm. So it's just like all this beautiful stuff happening. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I want to do this forever. So and then 2019 comes and it's World Cup time, and I get called to a World Cup training camp in February. And I remember crying when I got that, when my coach sent me the voice note, and I was like, what? This is like already a bonus on top of a bonus on top of a bonus. Like, this is incredible.
That's so good.
And I didn't make the World Cup team. Totally fine. Like, I can't even believe that I made it this far. But yeah, and he told me, he's like, you weren't on the team for Copa America. We have some people that have been here for a long time, like politics and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, don't worry.
I'm good.
I'm so thankful. It's crazy. But yeah, and then that happened. That was last summer.
So congratulations, man. I'm so happy that happened after like, after like, I can imagine like losing like faith and hope like in football.
Oh, yeah.
And then, turning it around the way you did and, getting that, as you say, that bonus, that prize at the end must have been amazing. So honestly, I'm really, really happy for you that you got to do that.
Thanks.
And, obviously you had many fun nights in Paris, as we heard, but then you also went back there to like try out with PSG, right? That must have been like cool as well.
Yeah, that was also something I was just like, okay, this life is nuts. I got called to PSG April of 2018. And that was like the worst timing, but I still went because I fractured my wrist. Like I was playing a game with guys and I literally broke like my hand off my arm pretty much. I don't know if you can see, I have like a nasty scar.
Yeah, I can see it.
I have a titanium plate and screws holding this all together.
Oh, damn.
So I had a really serious surgery. I had like pretty serious recovery. I never expected that for a wrist. And I got called to PSG. Mind you, I wasn't training. I wasn't allowed to run. I wasn't allowed to do anything. So I was like fairly out of shape. And I was like, I'm still going. Like, whatever, I'm still going. So I go to PSG. I train with them for like a week or two. And the coach is like, you're good, but you literally can't run past 20 minutes. It's like 20 minutes in, I was done. Like, it was a wrap. Like, I was just like, oh my God, I'm out of breath. Mind you, this is like kind of the end of their season. These girls, I'm playing with like half of the French national team. They're like ballers.
Yeah.
Jenny Hermosa, she plays for Spain, and like now she's in Barcelona, I think. Those were like, I was with those girls. Like, it was no joke. Like, PSG is popping.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't run. I literally can't run. Like I have no lungs. My legs are done. Like
Yeah.
I have a thing in my wrist that's really strange. Like
It wasn't the best time for you, right?
I was like, timing's a little off right now, but it was still like an incredible, opportunity. Like I was hanging out with these girls who then like beat the US 4-1. I was just like, oh, this is so inspiring. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
And
Yeah.
now you're back playing in the Bowery League.
Well, not right now because everything's shut down.
Obviously, yeah, just before the
But
pandemic.
yeah, once everything pops up again, I'm back to good old street soccer, which I love.
But I've been
So
always so like interested by these leagues, like here in London they call it like Sunday league, but all these creative kind of collectives like getting together playing football. Like I always see like all these collaborations with like sports brands, with Adi or with Nike, and I'm like, yo, I really want to play here one day. Like this is cool.
it's super cool, and it's gotten so competitive. Like I was having this conversation this morning. It's crazy how competitive it is, because now it's like we're like mixing like creatives with like ex pros, and it's just like this really beautiful like merge people who love the sport, and it's like it's really competitive. And then the style is really cool. Like we're collaborating with all these different brands and stuff, and it's just really cool and it's fun. And in New York, like I played Tuesday night co-ed, and we're under the Manhattan Bridge, so it's like you're playing football, you have some like dope kid on, and you have like the bridge lit up, and you're like, this is magical. Like this is literally amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Super
Does it get as aggressive as Argentina Boca River or no?
Oh yeah, big time. Oh no,
really?
Yeah, you have no idea. Oh my goodness, I've like almost destroyed my ankle before, like playing against guys. There's also a league here in Miami where Kith plays that is super competitive, but these guys like are ballers. They're like South American, like super epic dudes, and it's like really high pace, 99. But Bowery League is like, like Min. He's the one who created Bowery League. Like he's amazing. He's the nicest guy in the world, and he like started Bowery League, and he still has it going. He's a photographer for Bowery League too, so he's out there taking pics of you getting cracked and like
everything.
It's amazing. Yeah, no, it's the best.
That's so good. And you told me about like some ongoing projects you have right now, and you just literally bought like an indoor like football fields in Miami, right? Like tell me about it. I thought it was such a cool idea what you had in mind.
Yeah, so we got this opportunity out of the blue, and during the pandemic, like everything's closed, but these two Argentine dudes were super nice. They were just over it. They're like, we don't know what to do anymore with these fields, whatever. Well, like, do you want to buy these fields? And we're like, whatever. We saw them in photos and they were like mediocre looking. We go to this warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and we're like, dude, this is amazing. It's like a 10,000 square foot, like 2 pitches, like perfect turf. Like all it needs is a little like, ventilation and like good marketing, and we're off. Yeah. So we bought the place, and we started operating, and it was like our phones were blowing up. Like everyone wanted to play there. Like there's a little cafe. It's in a warehouse. It's cool. But then, all the cases started to spike in Miami with coronavirus, and I kind of had to make an executive decision to be like, we have to close. Like we can't. Like, this is really bad. So we were open for a whole 10 days and killed it. A good 10 days, and we were popping, and then we had to close down. So we're still closed.
At least there's a future. At least there's a future,
100%. Like I cannot wait to like open up again, but that gives us time to also like sort out little things,
Sure, yeah. And then you can make some empanadas in the cafe, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know, actually. It takes a lot of work. I'm super like precise with things.
Yeah. Not a That's so cool. Just to end, because I think we're like running out of time a little bit. Do you have any books that you're reading right now? Any shows that you're watching that you want to recommend us and our listeners?
This is so embarrassing. I'm like so behind on stuff. Like I'm just watching Casa de Papel.
I'm the same. What were you going to say?
I'm just watching Casa de Papel right now. Like
I think I've watched the first 2 seasons, but that's it. I've not finished it yet, so look, same.
Everyone's like, you have to watch Money Heist, Casa de Papel. And I'm like, okay, I'm so behind. I started reading this book that I actually put it down to pick it back up. I'll tell you what it is right now. It's called You Are the Placebo.
Okay, that's interesting.
You're the placebo, so it's really interesting, and I
Yeah.
really like. I'm
Power
into
of the
this.
mind, right?
Yes, mind over matter, 100%. And I'm like, that was literally me going back to football. Like
Yeah, no,
mind
for
over
real,
matter.
for real. Like I truly believe in that. And like through injuries, now when I was when I was injured, I had like loads of chats with my physio. His name is Paulo. He's Portuguese, and we used to talk about like he used to be a physio in the UAE in Emirates, and he said like over there were so many guys that they were like, you know, one game away fighting for a contract, and like they had like literally like a 3 or like a 8 centimeter tear in the hamstring, and they were playing, and he was like, I was like, how, you know? And he was saying like, you know, when you know like your last game depends on like whether you're gonna get a contract, whether your family are gonna eat, and like stuff like that, like you put your mind to it, and
Yeah.
these players weren't even complaining, like they played 90 minutes, and like, yeah, it's such an exciting like a crazy concept, you know. So
I kind of,
I wanna add that to my list.
yeah, you are the placebo. At first it starts like they just start, telling you, or you start reading about all these different experiences from like recovering from cancer to like even losing weight. Like there's like just completely across the board. And it's just how you get into your mind and you tell yourself like, no, I'm fine. And it's like reprogramming yourself
Yeah.
entirely. And it's just in your mind. And, he talks about how like, in religion, you have like the miracles from God.
Yeah.
And then in science, you have like people will give you a placebo and then you think that this is the medicine that's like fixing you, but it's just a placebo and it's really your mind. So everything goes back to just like your mind.
Yeah.
Mind. And I'm like, dude, it's true. Like I have little funny experiences with that too. But
that's so
I
cool. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for your time, Flo. That's been amazing. Honestly, had so much fun learning about you and your story. I think it's so cool. I think people are gonna love hearing this. Keep going with all your training and your beast mode and your yoga and everything. You inspire me, honestly.
Like, right now, I'm a little bit like quarantine snack bod.
Yeah,
chilling
yeah.
a little bit,
Well, I think we've all been. Like even while I've been here at home, I find it like, and I think loads of players I find it really hard to train without a goal in the mind, because when it all started, it's like, are we even gonna finish the league? If we do, when are we gonna start training? And we're just like training at home, but you're like, I'm just really doing this for myself because I don't know what's happening. So don't worry, we forgive you for this. But yeah, honestly, thank you so much for your time, and I really hope the football fields in Miami really pop it. If I'm ever there, I've been there a few times actually. I love Miami. I love going there in the summer. So when I'm there next time, I'll let you know. Maybe we play a little game over there.
Come through. That's perfect.
Thank you. Take care.
So yeah. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Ciao.
To keep up to date on future episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts at Hector Bellerin.